this election has given us space, not like previous elections where you have back-to-back two local governments in a day, but there's good spacing with this, and but you do a lot of consultation in between. So it's hectic, but it's coming up very well. It's coming up very well.
I mean, we get to hear people question different things, saying why you, why support you, and things like that. So maybe you should start by telling us. So what do you bring to the table?
What we bring to the table, we bring experience from the private sector. We bring organization, we bring character, we bring competence, we bring capacity, we bring compassion. Because no matter how much you know, if you don't have character, then there's a problem. And compassion also is important because you need to know the people, you need to feel for them because before you want to go out to serve them, there are certain things you really think you should correct. And so compassion is a big part of it. A whole lot of people that want to serve may not have that compassion. So I bring capacity, I bring character, I bring competence, but above all, I bring compassion to the table.
Do the people actually see that? I mean, has our politics in the country gotten to that stage where the electorate can actually see, okay, well, these for me are the key or vital components of the person I'm going to vote for, as opposed to probably on that day or whatever affiliations, either political, historical, ethnic, whatever. So do you think we've gotten to that stage yet?
We may not have gotten there fully, but we're getting there slowly. And that's why this period of campaign gives you that opportunity to talk to the people, and you are able to sell yourself, as it were, and engage properly with them, as opposed to the past where you finish primaries and the next month you're going to elections. So the electorate are not really able to bring out the best that you have and analyze them properly. So I think they are beginning to see it.
Analyze it as against who now? Because it does look like right now the PDP in Akwa Ibom State is operating a monopoly of sorts. The main contenders, or the would have been main contenders, the APC, it's not clear if they have a candidate for these elections. The candidate of the YPP was recently jailed by the Federal High Court. We don't know if he's appealing that, you know, over fraud charges. That's the current situation. So it's not certain if you have any contenders in the elections that you're about to face.
The issue of contenders, for me, I'm running an election and I'm running full steam, like I'm running with contenders. I don't let that affect the way we run our campaigns. You have business with the electorate, and you understand that you have to convince them that you are able to do the job. So for contenders, I didn't have any part to play with that. So, but for us in our campaign, we're running full elections.
I have to smile when you say you don't have any part to play with that. The candidate of the YPP, for instance, used to be with the PDP. You know, I know that my colleague, my senior colleague, Mr. Ladi Akeredolu, in his engagement with you on Newsnight, already took you up on how you emerged and how, you know, there was, you know, uncertainty in the PDP if it was going to be you. You were a total surprise, but you have the endorsement or the backing of the governor. I think there was a lot of conversation on that. So if, I mean, the other people who could have been contenders with you in the PDP went to other platforms, and then all of a sudden they find that they have problems with the law. Can the PDP really say, oh, they had no problems, they had no hand in that?
No, I really would like to know how the PDP had a hand in the problems they had with the law. The PDP didn't ask any party to conduct its election or not to conduct its primaries or to conduct it at night without supervision. I don't think that had to do with the PDP. I don't also think the PDP or anyone had a hand in what happened with our brother, the senator, because these are issues that predates all of us. It started in 2014, and it's a federal issue. So I really like to see how the PDP had to be involved in any of those. You know, it's unfortunate that all that has happened. I wish that we all go to the field and test, you know, our candidacy with the people. But talking about support, this has been issues we've talked over and over again. You know, when we were all aspiring, everyone wanted the endorsement of people that matters. And that's politics. You always want endorsements and go to the people and, you know, they now will endorse you, having checked your blueprint or manifesto, as the case will be.
So
and then,
why do you think the governor endorsed you?
Well, in my opinion, I think he must have looked at all of us. You know our governor, you know Dom Emmanuel is a very detailed man and very analytical. He must have looked at it and must have seen through that this man has the capacity to run the affairs of the state. I've worked with him as executive director, Agric Investments. I've worked with him as a commissioner for lands and water resources. And I've also been in the state long enough. I've run my business the last 25 years locally, grown it locally. And so he must have known my capacity. But again, the point I want to make very strongly this morning is that that you are endorsed doesn't mean that you won't go through the process. You are endorsed. Every other person somehow were also endorsed by other groups. And to say it, all of us wanted the endorsement of the governor, every one of us, you know. So, but that again did not stop the process. You are endorsed, you went through primaries, and I didn't write the law that did not make statutory delegates not to vote. So we should be asking the people in the House of Assembly, National Assembly, how that happened. But we went through primaries as it were.
So a lot of things working in your favor, more or less.
God's grace. God's grace.
But if we, now, Godswill Akpabio had a different style. The current governor has a different style. Now, for you, I'm just thinking for the citizens, the residents there, what will they expect? What do you plan to do? How are you going to approach this? We've seen your manifesto, which we'll come to in a moment. But in terms of what you bring to the table, I'm sure you're mindful of the current governor's style as well, the project that he's worked on, because I also reckon that part of the constitutions will be continuity in what he's done. How do you plan to approach the task before you?
We were campaigning on a theme that's, you know, connecting the dots, furthering peace and prosperity in Akwa Ibom. That's what we're focusing on. And like you said, it's continuity. There are lots of things, infrastructure that have been created by this government, and lots of them in the health sector, the aviation sector, rural development, agri sector. And so our job basically is to be able to take all of this, harmonize them, and let the citizenry have the benefits of democracy. For example, we have, when I was the executive director of the Agric Investments, we did a survey of all of the farmers in Akwa Ibom State. Arising from that, we had to set up Ibom Microfinance Bank because we wanted our farmers to have access to funding to be able to, you know, come into commercial agriculture. These are institutions that have been set up. Our job will simply be to connect them, bring the farmers to the microfinance bank and let them do what they were supposed to do so that we can get benefits. You go to the aviation industry, you've seen the investment that this governor has done in the aviation industry. Our role is to connect that to ensure that we drive that through and make Akwa Ibom people begin to have that benefit. There is already an airline, there is a new terminal building, there is a maintenance, repair, and overhaul hangar in the place. We believe that when the 10 aircraft that has been ordered by Ibom Air comes in, we begin to do regional flight. With that, you need to expand and begin to think of building a cargo terminal, because you want, with the regional flight, and you need to improve, of course, your earnings. So you need a cargo terminal. You need to begin to seek a special status for the whole of that area to get an export-free zone. So you keep adding up. There is really nothing like taking back the hand of the clock. What Akwa Ibom has been blessed with, if you watch, is over time, every governor, like you said, that has come has a vision to keep building on what the other have done. And that's what we intend to continue doing. I can go on and show you how we intend to connect
you will.
things.
And talk about the how bit of it when we return from this break in just a moment. Stay with us.
This Christmas, give your child the gift of learning. You listen, love learning.
I'm about to serve better breakfast.
If you're in Lagos, you need to see this.
I'm not just streaming content, I'm just escaping traffic.
Get more data to enjoy exclusive content. Dial *141# now. Airtel, the smartphone network. Heartburn and indigestion? Try Gestede. My recommendation for the past 26 years, Gestede. Reliable remedy for heartburn, indigestion, flatulence, and acidity.
All right, welcome back. So talking about how, I know that the governor did disagree at some point with some of the figures about the unemployment published by the NBS over time, and how Akwa Ibom didn't rank very well in that department. So they talking about how you want to address that particular challenge. Human capacity is very key to all of the projects that you intend to work on, as you've seen highlighted in your manifesto. So what is the thinking about, developing human capacity, providing jobs for the teeming youths in Akwa Ibom State?
If you look at the Arise agenda, all of that is targeted at reducing unemployment in the state. All of the programs in the Arise agenda, be it agricultural revolution, be it tourism, be it rural development, be it infrastructural development, be it, of course, security, which is key, and then educational development, economic development. All of those components is targeted at the youths to create jobs and create jobs and create jobs. Because right now, we may argue about the percentages, but the truth also is that we have our people not, I may not even talk about unemployment as underemployment, because people have master's degree, people have, maybe they studied something, and what they're doing is really not what they went for. So you need to begin to create jobs in the area that will take people what they studied. You have to do a lot of training and retraining of the people you have. You have to ensure that your youths not only come out with a degree, but they come out with a profession. And while in school, they can learn some vocation that will help them to become job creators themselves. These are the areas we're targeting in all of the things we're looking at from the Arise agenda, which we've put very clear to the people of Akwa Ibom State.
Well, it's a good thing that we're already talking on employment because the latest figures released by the National Bureau of Statistics, I do not know if you've had the time to look at some of the figures released from the multidimensionally poor figures or the index released recently by the NBS and some of its partners. Unemployment in Akwa Ibom is put at a little over 50%. 50% is huge. Underemployment, which you also speak to, I think it's put at, looking for that figure now, 16.7%. It's not as bad as the unemployment figures, but when you look at it comparatively with a number of other states, they seem to be doing fairly on the average in terms of underemployment. But the unemployment figure is really worrisome. And I'm sure you've also been following in recent times the back and forth between the federal government and state governments over, what the focus and the priority has been. That, there has been a lot more focus on building flyovers and airports as opposed to the real things that bring development and pull people out of poverty. I'm also aware that state government, just before you give me that, say that the infrastructure which they put in place is important to call the investors to the states. But when you look at the figure, underlying figure for Akwa Ibom alone, that should necessarily worry you. I know agriculture is one of the things you want to focus on, but what are you really going to do to pull down that figure from 50%? It's a huge one.
Well, the issue of, thank you for bringing up this. There's always been this argument about how the National Bureau of Statistics got their figures. I don't know, I don't remember them talking to any, over and over again, the government of Akwa Ibom State have asked that the National Bureau of Statistics should tell us how they got their figures, because we don't remember them talking with our state director of statistics. We don't know how they come through to that. But it's always debatable because, but the issue is,
so you debate these figures?
Oh, yes.
Because we also questioned them and they said that they had conversations. In fact, that there was a handshake between themselves and the State Bureau of Statistics. The Director General was here and he said there was a handshake between themselves and the Directors of State Bureaus of Statistics so that in case any of these contentions come up. But without contention, what is your own State Bureau of Statistics saying?
No, our State Bureau of Statistics have unemployment at about between 30 and 35%. That's the figure we have published.
But you're still high.
It's high. We're not contending that it's not high. The reason is that, and when you talk, the government, like you also mentioned, have to develop those infrastructures to be able to bring in investment. But when you talk about the airport, I can tell you that the airport itself engages people. The airline, the number of people Ibom Air has employed currently, then with other development, and even when you're developing those infrastructures, people are working there. You're constructing a road, you have people that have been engaged, and they're all Akwa Ibomites. But that's why we're saying we need to raise the bar in human capital development in the state so that we can fit, we don't have to ship out our jobs, basically. We can train our people to suit the sector you're talking about. This government, I know, is training a lot of pilots right now and engineers. That's human capital development. They're training some doctors and in their specific areas so that our young That's why we're coming with entrepreneurship on the table. The key focus of all of this in Akwa Ibom will be entrepreneurship. With all of the infrastructure that we have on ground, we need to begin to support small, medium enterprises and create entrepreneurship for our people so that, you know, there's a limit to which government can create jobs. There's a limit so that you don't keep, you know, just having salary bills. But you can.
But are you able to say, I mean, based on what, this is assuming that, somehow you were part of the Akwa Ibom state government before you decided to throw your hat into the ring. So when we ask these questions, before people think, oh, are we asking you as governor already or what? No, you still have to go through the process. But you've been a part of this government as the current government in Akwa Ibom state, and now you're, you know, contending for the highest seat in the state. So I'm just wondering, when you talk about investment, the investment that the state government has made, is there a connection between how much the state government pumps into any project and how many people they intend to either lift out of poverty or at least to ensure that this number of people or this number of jobs are generated as a result of the investment that they have made?
There's a connection, but you also know that it has to be in the short, medium, and long-term plan for bringing out the people. As you develop, you know the number of people you need to engage, but overall in the final analysis, by the time you run through the mill, of course, the people will be, more people will be engaged as you get through the full value chain of what you're doing. So you don't forget these are investments. You don't overbloat that investment. You don't bog it down with overhead costs, salaries, and all of that. But there is a plan in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term, the number of people you bring out of employment. But like I keep saying, agriculture itself everyone can get involved in it. And you can ensure that somehow a whole lot of our people begin to do and see agriculture as a business. And once government supports that, then people get engaged. For example, the oil palm industry. If government decides to say, okay, Akwa Ibom is, all of the places in Akwa Ibom, you have oil palm. And so you want to make that, develop that to a full value chain. Everyone can now have to plant, you know, oil palm trees, and it gives you maybe in 18 months, maximum 24 months, the new seedlings that we have, and then you harvest. The people can sell to government. There is a mill that mills this. So you bring Akwa Ibom back. It used to be in the days, back in the days, an oil palm zone. And so you bring that back. Everybody is involved.
Well,
so,
you've given an instance there, and I'm sure that while you're doing that, you also must be looking at education. I know you've also spoken to education, training, developing capacity, and making sure that the people of Akwa Ibom State have the right set of skills needed to develop the state. But looking more at the basic level, only recently we're told that Nigeria has over 20 million children out of school. Some people, again, have debated the figures because just 2 years ago or 4 years ago, we were at 10 million, according to UNICEF. UNESCO, however, says we have 20 million out of school children. Now, oftentimes when that happens, people look to the north of the country, you know, and for a number of reasons. But in recent times, there have been other researches done, and they've also found out that Akwa Ibom State in the south has a significant number of children who are not in schools. I do not know if you've seen this report, and I do not know if it's something that, assuming you have, you know, if it's of concern to you and what it is that you intend to do to address it.
You know, Akwa Ibom is one of the states in this country that runs free education, you know, up to secondary school level. And every year, the state government pays close to $1 billion for the students to write WAEC, and it's free. So the issue of out-of-school children must be taken in proper context, you know. But again, there's been a lot of changes in our educational system, and we intend to build more on that. we intend to come up with a lot of things that will make school attractive to students and to pupils and to parents to release their children.
Is it a problem you're aware of in Akwa Ibom State that the children are not really interested in school?
I wouldn't say they are not interested. They are interested, but if sometimes you also know that children can be easily distracted. So we need our parents to ensure that they partner with government to not to leave everything to government. You know, because education is free, the parents must get involved. Did my child go to school? What did my child do in school? I still remember my mother used to, when I come back, she takes me through my assignment, look at my homework, teach me how, you know, vocabularies and pronunciation. How many parents today are really doing that? You know, so we need to go back to the basics where we have our parents get involved in looking at what our children will do in school. And when they come, I remember my mother will search my school bag before going to school in the morning. There are things, if you have anything in that bag that you were not given from home, you have explanations to do. So much as we put the blame, the out of school children, we also must be able to look at it, you know, holistically. I believe that government is doing its part. Parents, all of us, must be interested in what our wards are doing.
I spoke to a number of youths in Uyo after we had an interview with the governor, and some of them were quite particular about science and technology, ICT. I mean, they talked about a certain industrial park that used to be before and how they just can't wait to get it back because for them, that is the oil, as it were. And you have teeming youths in the state. So what will be your plan? How do you want to approach that particular area?
If you look at that blueprint very well, you'll find out that ICT is key. There is a science park, and I've consistently said we will resuscitate the science park. This government actually had gone into a contract with a Chinese firm, but that was pro-COVID. Since then, COVID, the people left and they've not been able to come back. So the science park is on the front burner. We know that the whole world today runs on technology. And so we need to put our youths and begin to create a platform, an environment for them to operate. And our schools will now, we're thinking of building new schools that will have digital platforms. So the kids from their young age will be attracted.
So, but what is the vision that you have for ICT in the state? Any targets that you want to achieve?
No, we believe that we should, with the creation of the science park and working, Google is now one of the triangles. Google is coming in and is coming in through Akwa Ibom. I think it's Akwa Ibom, Lagos, and Abuja. And then once that starts, of course, we're looking at close, you know, on a yearly basis, we should be able to get our youth close to 500,000 and lift them out and let, you know, and then you begin to make everything technologically based. As you do that, you're encouraging people, even from your civil service, you're encouraging people, you know, to become computer savvy. And that's the way we're looking.
All right, our colleagues in Lagos have got some questions for you. Go ahead, please.
Well, thank you, Chamberlain. I mean, I was reading the NGF's response to the federal government, or at least to the Minister of State, on that, you know, debate on who is responsible for poverty and unemployment. And, you know, one of the statements that was quoted is Akwa Ibom State government's statement saying that, well, economic policies generally are set by the central government nationally, essentially saying that it is actually the federal government that is mainly responsible for this. This sets the tone, even though we know that state governors also have their economic policy as well. So, I mean, that's one question on the one hand. But I like for you to speak to this, really, because for a lot of people, they don't know what is what. They just know they stay in a particular area and they expect that the roads are fixed. They expect that there's potable water. They expect that there's access to health care, education, and all of that infrastructure. What for you will be key, maybe, if you have identified the major challenge between the working together of the federal, state, and even local government, such that the people can enjoy life regardless of who is responsible? Have you been able to identify maybe that issue with collaboration between governments and how you would sort that out?
Okay, thank you so much. The collaboration between the state and federal government shouldn't really be a burden on the citizenry because, like you rightly pointed out, what they want is service. I know that we in Akwa Ibom, when I was commissioner for lands and water resources, we had a very good collaboration with the Federal Ministry of Water Resources. We worked with them to provide services to our people, and I looked at our laws again. From that collaboration, we're able to come out with a water bill that has been passed by the House of Assembly. We're able to do some cleanup in the rural areas, and we had the Federal Ministry of Water Resources combining with the state government to ensure that our people are trained on cleanup with the Clean Up Nigerian group. And I know recently, even after I've left office, 2 weeks ago, I was nominated and given an award for that collaboration. So there is, I know our state government collaborates and will still continue to do that because you want to get service to your people. We've had occasion where the state government have gone on to do federal roads because Akwa Ibomites are the one driving on the road. So we believe that we'll continue with that collaboration to bring tangible dividend to the citizenry of Akwa Ibom. Sometimes I do not personally believe that we should come throw blames at each. We should go back office and try to sort out what the issues are so that our people ultimately will benefit from the services that they should get. Because if a man is hungry, he wants to eat food, and sometimes he may not care whether it's federal government providing the food or state government is providing the food. That's my take on that, and we'll continue to collaborate with the federal government.
Yes, Pastor, no, I'm also concerned about the unemployment figures, and I'd like to tie it to the industrialization strides of the current administration. During our last interview with the governor, he spoke a lot, in glowing terms of the efforts in that direction, the syringe factory, the coconut oil virgin factory, the metering company. These are structures for prosperity, and prosperity cannot be hidden. So if these industries are up and running, why haven't they led to a significant, change in the unemployment figures in Akwa Ibom State?
You remember that Governor Dom Emmanuel came in and made the state as a purely civil service state. And in 8 years, like you've mentioned, the number of industries has been able to attract. It can only get better. It can only get better. The syringe factory, the metering factory. Right now, there is a petrochemical plant that is coming up in the state. All of that will be one step at a time. You can't, it's not like a magic wand. It's put in so much in terms of investment and energy to get Akwa Ibom people to begin, out of this unemployment. But the most important thing is, no matter how much we bring in, I believe that we need to encourage much more of entrepreneurship in the state. I believe that Akwa Ibomites should be supported in their businesses. Small, medium enterprises must thrive. Almost 90% of about between 60 to 70% of the economy of any country is managed by, handled by the small, medium enterprises. That's how you lift people out of poverty. That's how you create a middle class. And I'm sure we can do that.
Yeah. So as we wind down now, what is happening and what will you do about Ibom Deep Sea Port and Ibom Industrial City?
Ibom Deep Sea Port is on course, and we will pursue that and ensure that we begin, we get that realized. As we get into office, we'll continue with the work that the state governments have done. I'm sure all of the reports have come in, and then Ibom Industrial City will be on course. What we need to do is to ensure that we create that industrial city in such a way that my thinking is give incentives for people to come. you'll be part of it. You get a land, we'll give you some incentive, maybe give you the land. We can just, as per discussion, give you the land free, but have parameters to work with you, because a lot of things, again, I discovered as Commissioner for Lands, a lot of people had land and they just take the papers, use the collateral, take money for something else. So the new approach is we'll give you the land and we have a time frame. We work with you on timelines that will, but we are prepared to give you a lot more incentive. That's how to grow the industrial city and then ensure that we are able to monitor those timelines.
All right, Udo, thank you very much indeed for coming on. Pastor Umoh-Aina, governorship candidate of the PDP in Akwa Ibom. Say thank you and all the best.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
All right, just a minute. We've got some quick messages to take a look at. Dr. Awodi is talking about oil theft. He says the quagmire bedeviling the oil sector in Nigeria shows that oil theft and fuel subsidy are mutually